Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. Welcome to all for this session on Ganesha Purana to chapter 63. In the previous chapters, we were hearing the story of King Krithaveerya who had no son and finally left his kingdom, and he went into forest and he was following the fast unto death. Seeing this, Narada went to Krithaveerya's father who died and he was residing in the Pitraloka, and told him about the fate of his son. On hearing that, Krithaveerya's father went to Brahmaloka asking the reason why his son had no further son who would be heir to the throne. Then Brahma told him about how wicked was his son in the previous life, and he killed many efficient people and even Brahmins, and because of that reason in this life he had no son. But incidentally, in an inadvertent way, by somehow he performed the fasting and called the name of Ganesha in the evening and had the food after the moonrise on a Sankasta Chaturthi day, especially when it had fallen on a Tuesday. And because of that virtue, he became the king in the present life. Hearing this, Krithaveerya's father was interested in knowing what is the speciality of Chaturthi day and the Tuesday. Then Brahma told him the story of Bhauma, the son of Bhumi, Earth, Mother Earth, who was later named by the Ganesha himself as Mangala, and because of that, and that boy had got the Ganesha mantra from his father sage Bharadwaja, and on the appearance of Gajanana, Gajanana gave him the boon saying that he will become famous because on the Chaturthi day he had the appearance of Ganesha. Chaturthi day became an auspicious day, and by his name, if it falls on a Mangalavara, that is Tuesday, then it will become much more auspicious. That is what is called as Angaraka Chaturthi, because Angaraka means the red color, that is the color of the Mars or the Mangala Graha or the Mangala, whose body was red in color. So because of that reason, a Sankasta Chaturthi day falling on a Tuesday is considered as Angaraka Chaturthi, and anyone who performed the Sankastahara Chaturthi Vrata on that day of Angaraka Chaturthi is equivalent to performing it for the whole year. And then Krithaveerya's father continued and he asked Brahma, I asked why devotion had to be manifested at moonrise on the fourth day of the dark fortnight, and you have explained it. In the last chapter, Brahma explained him about the reason why moon was cursed, so that he should not be seen on the Bhadrapada Shukla Chaturthi day, but incidentally, because the moon for the same reason performed the austerity and pleased the Gajanana, Gajanana gave him the boon that on the Krishna Paksha Chaturthi day, when Sankashta Chaturthi is to be performed, the moon god will also be worshipped along with Ganesha. So all these were explained by Brahma to Krithaveerya's father while giving the details of the Sankashtahara Chaturthi Vrata. I also wish to hear why Durva grass must be procured, why Durva grass had become so pious and so important for the worship of Gajanana. Tell me why blades of Durva grass are pleasing to Gananatha. For this, Brahma started telling another story. Well, listen, O excellent king, and I will tell you the result of procuring blades of Durva grass for Gananatha. In the southern region, there was a city named Jamba, where there lived a warrior named Sulabha, who had good qualities, was generous, rich, and strong. He was discriminating, proud, tranquil, quite self controlled. He knew the truth of all the Shastras and was well versed in the true object of all the Vedas. Filled with devotion, he was constantly making eulogies and hymns in praise to Vikata Gajanana. His highly renowned wife was named Samudra, and she was virtuous and extraordinarily beautiful, her beauty being such that the nymphs cursed her. Devoted to the gods, the Brahmins, and guests, she charmed her husband's heart with her good qualities. Just then, a Brahmin named Madhusudhana arrived, seeking alms and constantly in contemplation upon the Supreme Lord. But because of his poverty, he was poorly clothed, and though in fact he was clothed, he seemed to be naked. On seeing him, Sulabha bowed, full of joy, but overtaken by folly, he unexpectedly laughed at that excellent Brahmin. However, the great sage was disturbed by that laughter of Sulabha, and his angry red eyes of Madhusudana almost burning the triple world, he uttered a curse. You fool! You publicly laughed at the Brahmins, so become a bull that is always drawing a plough and is in constant pain. After learning of her husband's curse, her husband suffering from the curse, Samudra, the wife of Sulabha, seethed with anger and furious as a snake that has been struck. She cursed the Brahmin. Since you are discriminating, yet have placed a curse on my husband, you will be changed into a dung eating ass, O evil Brahmin. But after he had heard that curse uttered, the cruel man, that Madhusudana, cursed Samudra, wife of Sulabha. Since you, a woman, cursed me, you will become chandala woman, poverty stricken, full of defects, eating shit and piss, a cause of inauspiciousness. After all the three had cursed each other in this way and lost their bodies, which were so difficult to obtain, Sulabha became a bull drawing a plough, and because of the Brahmin's curse, never at any time did he get a moment's rest. The Brahmin Madhusudana was born in a donkey's womb, and Samudra became a malicious Chandala woman, injuring living beings. Like an impoverished Pishacha, she became engrossed in eating piss and shit. Her body was utterly desiccated, her teeth jagged, and her feet monstrous. One day, while wandering in the south of the city, she saw an absolutely marvelous temple of Gananatha in a tangle of many trees and creepers filled with many flocks of birds. There were some yogic lords in it who were constantly occupied in personal service, some of them worshippers of Ganesha, abiding in a state of self restraint. Others had their own wishes as their goals, and others were seeking wealth, liberation, and sons. Sometime on the fourth day of the month of Bhadra, that is Bhadrapada, a great festival of Gananatha was being held in every house of the city. But it began to rain violently, a veritable harbinger of the great destruction, Frightened of the rain, the Chandala woman went into each of the houses, but the entire populace, striking her and so forth, threw her out of each one. After taking some fire in her hand, she then went to the temple, but even there some people struck her and she was repulsed by the yogins. Then, after she had started a fire with grass, she warmed up her limbs. Suddenly, the wind moved. That pile of grass was also having the Durva blades among them. Suddenly, the wind moved a few blades of Durva grass, and under the influence of fate, those Durva grass fell on Gananatha's head. That was touched by the Chandala woman, and then the air blew them, and they went and fallen on the Ganesha's head. At the same time, a donkey who was frightened of the cold went to the temple, and also at the same time, due to the fate, the bull was freed from the plow, and by the weight of destiny's purpose, he came to Gananatha's temple. If you remember, it was Sulabha who turned into a bull, it was Madhusudhana the brahmin who turned into a donkey, and by the fate, they both went into the same temple where the Chandala woman, the wife Samudra, wife of Sulabha, she is now a Chandala woman, and she was also sitting in the same Ganesha temple. So incidentally, they all three met, though they do not know who they are to each other. And all three came to the Gananatha's temple. Both of them ate the Chandala woman's grass. The Chandala woman has brought some grass to put the fire so that she can warm up herself. And both the bull and the donkey started eating the grass brought by the Chandala woman. While the people were sleeping, these two, that is the bull and the donkey, they start fighting near Gananatha with their hooves and horns. From their mouth, two blades of grass then fell on to Ganesha's trunk and foot, and Gananatha was satisfied since they have offered the Durva grass, though inadvertently. Somehow Chandala woman had brought that grass, and the air blew it so that it fed and fell on Ganesha's head. And while that bull and the donkey were fighting for eating the Durva grass, the grass that has fallen from their mouth had fallen at the feet of Gajanana. After that, taking her staff, the Chandala woman went up to the god, struck both the donkey and the bull, and performed worship herself. On hearing the sound of their hoofs, a man awoke from sleep, and hitting her with his fists and elbows, he drove her out with a staff. Intent upon flight, she was also struck with stones and so forth. Fearful about the touch of Chandala woman and the donkey, the people bathed Gajanana with the consecrated water from a sacred pond, and with substances of many kinds they worshipped Gajanana with the highest devotion. Once more, these wicked people deliberately struck the bull, the donkey, and the Chandala woman with sticks, the palms of their hands and their knees, the door of the god being closed. There was no refuge for all three of them, for the bull, for the donkey, and the Chandala woman. However, while those three were wandering around and lamenting piteously in harsh tones, Vikata voiced this thought: once again they have performed a ritual for me by chance, and so now they have worshipped me with a piece of Durva grass, and so on. Even though they were in difficulty, they undertook a great many circumambulation, because when people hit them with the stick and forced them out of the temple, they ran away fearing that the people will going to beat them with the stone and the staffs. So while they all three were running, they made many circumambulation around the temple, and Gajanana was pleased just by that. And I esteem and honor anyone who should offer me a single piece of Durva grass and undertake the circumambulation on the fourth day of the bright fortnight of Bhadra, that is Bhadrapada. In view of that, I will send them to my own home in an aerial vehicle. You can observe one thing speciality in this story. Even if somebody is born in the so-called upper caste like a Brahmin or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, being a Dvija class, even if they properly perform the Ganesha Vrata, compared to them, somebody who is a Shudra or a Chandala or someone who is born as an animal like the bull or the donkey, even if they simply offer, whether there is a devotion or not, even if they simply offer a Durva grass, or like we heard in the previous stories, even if they simply utter the name of Ganesha as told by Sama, the previous past life of Krithaveerya, or in the case of Brushundi in his previous past life, in the early part of his life, he was called as Krithaveerya. Sorry, he was called as I forgot the name. He was a wicked man, and he was simply reciting the name of Ganesha. His name was Kaivartaka. So he was simply reciting the name of Ganesha. So all this shows that whoever, through the incident of because of their past karmas, the karma that they had done in the past life, often makes someone born in the house where it is difficult for them to perform either the worship or the Vedadhyena, the study of Vedas. But they need not have to do all those things, even if they simply utter the name of Gajanana and simply offer the Durva grass to Gajanana. That is more than enough. And you can see here that the God has decided to send his own aerial vehicle so that they will all three will be brought to the Ganesha Loka. Accordingly, the God dispatched an aerial vehicle adorned with his own people, as well as with the hosts of nymphs and heavenly musicians, all having his real appearance. It was accompanied by music, it was filled with flowers, fragrant substances, and celestial foods, and displayed banners and flags. After collecting and putting them into the aerial vehicle, where they become joyous and assumed celestial bodies, the host who had Gajanana's appearance quickly took them with Gajanana's permission to the Loka, that is to the Ganesha Loka. Astonishment arose in the hearts of all the people who were watching this, and they said, "This happy result has occurred because of their previous merit." Thereafter, having left their meditation, some of the yogic lords went to the host who came with that aerial vehicle. Some yogic, some rishis who were there near the temple, they went to those hosts and asked, "Tell us how they acquired this result, which is auspicious and permanent. They are quite depraved, and among them there is not even one atom of merit. O faultless host, tell us why they got this happy result, which is so rare that they got an entry into the Ganesha Loka." We will stop all our personal service, stop our own personal service, and immediately do just what those three people had done to please the Gajanana. Time goes on incalculably, but no god has entered our range of sight, because those yogis were doing many practices, but in spite of that, they never had even the darshana or the appearance of the god. But these three, without having done anything, they could able to get the entry to the Ganesha Loka. Though we are always passionless eaters of air, that means they were breathing only the air and perform personal services. Tell us when we will reach the Ganesha's home. Thus ends the 63rd chapter of Upasana Khanda of the glorious Ganesha Purana, in which Krithaveerya's father asked Brahma about the speciality of the Durva grass being offered to Gajanana. At that, the Brahma told him the story of three people: Sulabha, the warrior, Madhusudhana, the brahmin, and then the Samudra, wife of Sulabha. So all these three cursed each other, and Sulabha turned into a bull, Madhusudhana turned into a donkey, and Samudra turned into a chandala woman. And on the Bhadrapada Shukla chathurthi day, all three were not having the food, and there was a heavy rain, and in order to save themselves from the rain, they went into a Ganesha's temple. Incidentally, that chandala woman had brought some grass to put the fire so that she can warm up herself. Incidentally, there was a lot of Durva grass in that bunch, and the air blew them, and some of the Durva grass touched by the Chandala woman fell on Ganesha. And then the bull and the donkey, basically the Sulabha and the Madhusudhana in their next life, those two were fighting each other to eat the Durva grass there, and some Durva grass fell from their mouth. They fall at the feet of Gajanana, and then people drove them away, drove them out of the temple when they started doing the circumambulation around the Ganesha temple for the fear of their life. And because of this, Ganesha became immensely happy, and he sent his people along with the aerial vehicle to bring all three of them to the Ganesha Loka, from where there is no return. And such is the speciality of the Durva grass, and if offered even by a Chandala woman or the bull or the donkey who have done nothing meritorious, still simply inadvertently by mistake somehow they offered the Durva grass to Gajanana, and because of that reason they were brought to Ganesha Loka. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidyadanancha Dehime. Goodbye.